Oh, no. They came to matters.
Oh, they're not giving them.
They do eventually. Commissioners, how are you? All right. Yeah, I just started Commissioner Marion. All right. Thank you.
That's step one. That's what we can do. So that's good. Step one. Good process.
It's all neighbors. Oh, no, you can touch that. I was like,
Oh, that's what happened.
What's your job?
I wish I had a.
It is 12:47. I'm going to start the meeting. This is the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Today's date, November 7th. I'm going to call this meeting to order with roll call. Vice Commissioner Dekowitz. Here. Commissioner Boatright.
Here.
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Rubin.
Here.
Commissioner Tolliver. Here. I am Commissioner Wong. We do have a quorum. I'd like to ask anyone wishing to make a comment, a statement on today's agenda to complete a public comment card and give the card to a member of the staff. Comment cards are available at the door. As a courtesy to other individuals wishing to offer comments, we ask that members of the general public limit their statements to 3 minutes or less. When the time comes for public comment on the individual item on the agenda, I'll call the names from your cards and ask you to come forward to the original microphone, right? No microphone. Well, speak loudly, please. And make a statement. At that time, please state your name and the interest, organization, or company that you represent, if any. Before we start today's commission meeting, I want to announce that Commissioner Hughes, Kiara Hughes, has formally resigned from the commission. We want to extend our thanks for her 5 years service on the commission and the permit review committee from her appointment in October 2019 to last month. Her perspective, architectural knowledge, and contributions were very much appreciated. And Commissioner Boatright, you want to spread the good news?
Yeah, so we're gonna miss her on the commission, but we're really excited that she's actually joining the DPD team as one of our newest deputy commissioners over process improvement and special initiatives. So she'll still be able to engage with our important projects through landmark status. But she's now on our staff full time. So I'm excited and proud and just so proud of all the work that she's done, to your earlier point on the commission.
So we really got to be nice to her.
Treat everyone.
We always have. We always have.
Congratulations.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. This is the regular meeting of October 3rd. Those were included in the packets. Any comments on those meeting minutes? If none, I'd like to request a motion to approve those minutes. So much. Approved by Commissioner Burns.
Second.
And, second by Commissioner Dekowitz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody, opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Also want to note, that, there are several people here who, have signed up to speak on an item that is not on the agenda. I am not going to open that up for comments, to let you know that, this hopefully will be on on the agenda soon. At that time, I will ask you, you can come sign up, to make your comments, but at this time, we don't want to, accept any comments not on the agenda. So thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll also learn how this commission works. So this will be, an educational, series as well. The next item on the agenda is the report from the Department of Planning and Development on the Erie Street, Row, 161 East Erie Street in the 42nd Ward, and Commissioner Boatwright is here.
Sure, so just a brief report, this proposed designation for the Erie Street Row on the screen, does not raise any concerns or issues from a planning perspective. So I don't have a formal report for the commission, but I would like to state for the record that I do recommend approval of this proposed designation.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for, Commissioner Boatwright? Okay. And are the owners here? Okay, if not, then I'll call for, public comments and Mr. Miller.
So for the record, thank you, Commissioner. For the record, Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We very much support the 161 East Erie building. Originally 3 buildings as a designated Chicago landmark. We feel that these are really important to the community. They also represent what the community looked like over a century ago, prior to the sort of commercialization of Michigan Avenue, then known as Pine Street. We actually recommended this as part of a larger district at one point of buildings that were tied to the Near North Multiple Properties District. We were asked by then Commissioner Houlihan to also look at other buildings that may be considered in the district. Several of you remember that. We identified 38 such buildings of this sort of scale and nature, originally residential buildings, and this is one of them. So we're very happy to see this come before you today, and also recognize the flexibility here with this property, that perhaps there could be something built behind the structure. And we are all for having these active landmark buildings that engage the community and also are homes to small businesses. I also wanted to mention that 2 firms that we are aware of, 2 architectural firms that resided or officed in this building were Gall and Goosen. Herman Gall worked under Louis Sullivan and Adler and Sullivan. It's not clear exactly when they were in this building, but Mr. Goosen, who was a partner, was a nephew of Herman Gall. And Gall did a lot of important religious structures, mostly for the Catholic Church, and included hospitals and other such buildings. And we find this to be an important component of this designation, just to add to the importance of the building, as well as architect Michael Pado, P-A-D-O, who worked with Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. So Preservation Chicago is fully in support of this landmark designation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Tuan Sims had signed up to speak. All.
Well, no, just for this moment out, for this I'll speak.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You have seats over here.
Okay, any questions, comments on this item on Erie Street Row? If not, I'd like to,
Question.
yeah.
Just have we been in touch at all with the owners of the?
Yeah.
Yes, I can answer that one, yeah. Commissioner Knight, we have been in contact with the owners. They were aware of today's meeting. They were invited to attend if they wanted to make a statement. The next step in the process will be requesting their consent. We anticipate that they will want to request an extension to respond, which is their right to do, as they develop some drawings for a potential reuse project.
All set?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd like to request a motion to take the next step in the designation process to request consent from the property owners. So moved. So moved by Commissioner Deckwood, second by Commissioner Boatright. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Fair?
Yes.
Commissioner Rubin?
Yes.
Commissioner Talbert?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the final landmark recommendation for the Kingdom Baptist Church located at 301 North Central Avenue in 37th Ward. And Dan Carver, it's yours.
Thank you.
You guys having bottled water here?
Lunch should be up.
All right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For your consideration is a final recommendation for the landmark designation of the Kingdom Baptist Church building located at 301 North Central Avenue. Since we were last here, staff have received the formal written consent to the designation from the church, specifically Pastor Clemens, on behalf of the church. Again, for orientation, the Kingdom Baptist Church is located in Chicago's Austin community area on the far west side of Chicago at the northeast corner of West Fulton Street and North Central Avenue in the 37th Ward. At the Commission's September meeting, you found that the building meets 3 criteria for designation, including criterion 1 for representation of the city's heritage. Today's Kingdom Baptist Church building was constructed by the 15th Church of Christ Scientist. The congregation was founded in 1914 and traces its roots to the Church of Christ Scientist, a denomination founded in 1879 in Boston, Massachusetts. The original congregation believed in constructing the building as funding was available and thus completed the structure in 3 phases over 18 years. The first phase was completed in 1926 and consisted of the basement, which would house the auditorium and Sunday school space. Phase 2 encompassed the exterior superstructure of the building, as well as the first floor lobby, and was completed in the early 1930s. Phase 3 was implemented between 1934 and 1943 and included the completion of the interior spaces. Finally, on April 11th, 1943, the congregation held 3 ceremonies to officially dedicate the building debt-free. Kingdom Baptist Church was started in 1972. Its history can be traced to Pastor James A. Horton, who in 1967 became pastor of Greater Union Baptist Church on Chicago's near west side. Pastor Horton left Greater Union following a divide in the congregation regarding the relocation of the church. As city-sponsored urban renewal and block clearing programs began to alter the built environment around Greater Union, Reverend Horton believed the congregation should move to a new house of worship in Austin. On July 16, 1972, with pledges and offerings of over $2,000, a deposit was made for purchasing the 15th Church of Christ Scientist building. Additional down payments of $10,000 were made later, and several members of the church served as guarantors on the mortgage for the property, showing their deep financial and spiritual commitment to the church. Similarly to the original 15th Church of Christ Scientist members, in June 1989, the Congregation of Kingdom Baptist hosted their own mortgage burning to celebrate completing the payments for the building, an achievement attributed to Reverend Horton. In addition to heritage, the commission also found that the building is an outstanding work of architecture that meets criterion 4. The building highlights the evolution of architectural styles over its 18-year construction period as it shows elements of 2 distinct styles, neoclassical and Art Deco. The front facade of the building faces west onto Central Avenue. Here, the building is defined by a monumental portico, while a short series of low steps slightly raises the portico above grade, and 6 limestone columns with Corinthian capitals enclose the portico and support an intricately carved limestone entablature. All of these elements were in the building's original design in the 1920s. By 1931, however, the design of the building was streamlined, and elements of the building's original neoclassical design were eliminated. Most notably, roofline ornament was removed and replaced with a more linear design, popular in the Art Deco style that we see today. Here are some examples of the details of that front facade. And regarding the south facade facing Fulton Street, it's dominated by a 3-story tall limestone arcade. This arcade frames double-height round arched windows that light the interior of the auditorium at the 2nd story. The windows are steel sashed with opalescent glazing. Each arch of the arcade is surmounted by an elongated keystone. Adjacent to this arcade at the sidewalk level is a projecting vestibule with arched entrances. Above this, the facade steps back and features punched window openings that light the interior spaces within the building. And here are some details of the south facade. You also found that the building meets criterion 5 as the work of an important architect. The 15th Church of Christ Scientist was designed by architect Nelson Max Dunning. Born in Kenosha, Dunning studied architecture at the University of Wisconsin before moving to Chicago to briefly apprentice in the office of Solon S. Beeman, who was later the chief architect for the Church of Christ Scientist. Even among his contemporary critics, Dunning became best known for his specialization in the design of large-scale industrial, commercial, and educational buildings. One of Dunning's most notable works is the American Book Company building located in Chicago's near South Side. Constructed in 1912 as the Midwest Offices, Warehouse, and Distribution Center of the American Book Company, the 5-story building features finely crafted, classically influenced details in brick, limestone, and terracotta, and is a designated Chicago landmark. Other notable works of Dunning's include the American Furniture Mart at 680 North Lakeshore Drive and the former 14th Church of Christ Scientist at 4444 North Carolina. With respect to the integrity criterion, the commission found that the Kingdom Baptist Church possesses excellent physical integrity in its exterior. Kingdom Baptist Church retains its historic location, setting, exterior design, materials, and workmanship. Few significant alterations have been made to the historic house of worship. Known alterations include the replacement of at least some of the building's roof surfaces, replacement of windows at the east end of the south and east facades, installation of a chairlift and ramp, and the addition of the wrought iron fence at the front around a portion of the perimeter. At left is a rendering of the building published in the Chicago Tribune in 1931, while at right is a current photo of the building. In conclusion, the building is located in the 37th Ward. and Alderman Nitz has provided a letter of support for the designation. And with us today are multiple members of Kingdom Baptist Church, including Adam Dowell. And we recommend that the significant historical and architectural features of the building be identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building. You have a final landmark recommendation to that effect.
Thank you, Dan. Does the commissioner have any questions for Dan? at this time? None, you did say there are members. of the-
At least two.
Okay,
Who would like to speak?
would anybody, yeah, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adam Dow, and I am the trustee board chairman of Kingdom Baptist Church. I bring you greetings from the pastor of Kingdom Baptist Church, Marcus T. Clemens, who is a teacher at the Austin High School, and he wishes he could be here today to celebrate this great recommendation. I also bring greetings from all the members of Kingdom Baptist Church who are excited about this opportunity. We do have a few of the members sitting here to my left and right. Everyone from our leadership down to our last member is in full support of our building being designated as a landmark in the city of Chicago. And we are grateful to Dan Kleiber and his team as they have took the time to assist us in making this possible. Our building located at 301 North Central has been a beacon of hope to so many people since it was built in the 1920s. And it has been a building dedicated to service to the people of the Austin community for almost 100 years. That service started with the first tenants of the building, the 15th Church of Christ Scientists, and that service of the Austin community continued with our founding pastor, the late Reverend James A. Horton, and the charter members of Kingdom Baptist Church, a group of people who put their homes as collateral for the bank so that they could secure this building as not only a place of worship, but also a place where people could get resources like food, jobs, financial support, and other opportunities to make it through life's tough times. Today, our building is not only a place for us to have church, but it is also used as a food pantry, a site for hospital-sponsored health fairs, drug and alcohol rehabilitation ministries, and violence prevention programs are currently being put in place. We are grateful to you all that you have taken interest in our history, and we believe that the architecture of this building, the history of both churches that occupied this building, along with the history of the architect Nelson Max Dunning, this makes our building worth granting landmark designation. And also here with me today, I do have Pastor Reverend James A. Horton. His wife is here today. She walked into the building after it was bought from the 15th Street Church of Christ Scientists, and she has a few words that she wants to say today.
Continue to sit, I'm on a cane. But my name is Jamie Horton. And just to see my husband's picture up there kind of made me brought a few tears. But my husband, when he bought, he was trying to buy Kingdom Baptist Church from from the other members. But I'm 93 years old, so I kind of forget. So is that okay with you?
So beautiful.
So when he came to want to get into Kingdom, he brought the members from Kingdom Baptist, from Greater Union, thank you, Seth, from Greater Baptist Church to come. And in fact, I was pregnant with my baby. And so they had them down there watching, looking at the movie, looking at the church, and it's just gorgeous and everything. So I told him, you hurry up and come back, because I think I'm in labor. And sure enough, on a Tuesday, and I was in labor, so he had to leave that and take me to the hospital. But anyway, that didn't last very long with the other church. So he said the Lord had laid it on his heart about 301 North Central. And I don't know how he got in touch with 301. I don't know how he got in touch, but he said the Lord was laying on him. So they decided to about 60 people, they decided they wanted to do the same thing. So they came, so my husband said, well, you know, when those 60 people came, he said, we'll go find a place to rent. So I said, no, don't do that. Go in my basement. So they were in my basement for a year, the 60 people. They raised money. We had to have the money for that church. And we did that. And different things happened with the members. The people came in, they were so, first of all, he told them about that scripture, bring your tithe into the storehouse. And he taught them that, and they did that. And that's how they got the money to raise that. I think it was $10,000 for that church.
We didn't charge them.
And what you say?
We didn't charge them anything.
Oh, yeah, what she said. They were in the basement for a year. We didn't charge them 1 penny. They were there for four nights a week and all day Sunday. And I think that was her. Was that your mother or your auntie? She used to make ice cream. You know, I'd be done cook. Some of them would stay and eat dinner. Then I think one of her relatives would cook ice cream, and we'd be in I had a big backyard. Come back there and have ice cream and cake. It was just so much family in that building. And that's how it just worked so well. And then we just did so much. Some of the families are gone, but we did a wonderful job. And what else did?
Did a great job getting into 301.
Yeah, we did a great job in getting into 301. And we have he did a good job. He didn't charge charge money for salary. He opened up the daycare center. He opened that up. But I had to go and open it up at 6 o'clock in the morning because one of the members brought her kids. That's how I started, 6 o'clock in the morning. She had to go to work. So I would get up and leave my kids at home so I could go and wait for her kid to come in till they could find somebody to come in to start the service with the other kids. And that worked. And he made my husband was so peculiar. He would made we didn't have a baptismal in the building. He made a baptismal in my garage and had it built, took down to the church to baptize people in the church. He did that. He had a kids daycare center started. He didn't have little things to hang their coats up. He got buildings and he got stuff to build, what you call them things? To hang their coats up in. Then he ordered things for them to lay down. We must have had about 60 kids that started. And we had people in the neighborhood. The people worked. It did so much fun. And the church was paid, well, how long it was?
18 years.
15 or 16 years it was paid for within that time. From 70, what was it, 72? 72. It was paid for in about 16, the building was paid for in about 16 years. And you say?
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And, but anyway, he did so much. He wasn't a charger. He was a longshoreman. And that's how he worked. He didn't charge someone. And then when the church would have not a basement, anniversary, and he would say, well, you know what, I'm gonna give my part to the church. And he did that all these years until my baby got ready to go to college. I said, well, you got to take your part now. For her to go to college. And that's how that happened. He punished so much, had so many people. We started the Chase house, had her mother trained to cook, to feed all the kids in the daycare center, her mother right here. And then it was wonderful for the neighborhood. He did what all he did to help me help.
They've had a lot of tax preparation, food pantries, a lot of different job training. Money planning, preparation, quite a few things.
He did a lot of things. And I think he did a good job. And he left, God called him in on November the 5th. November 1995. I think
Got in 95.
95, that's when the Lord called him in. And then we've had wonderful messages since then, pastors since then. And I hope and pray that we get whatever we need to fix up the church. Because if he had been there, still living, he didn't mind giving away money. He did whatever. And we did it. He did a good job.
He raised money well.
Thank
He
you.
raised a lot of money for the church.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions? All right, now I'd like to call for public comment. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We can see that this church has been a cornerstone of the community for a very, very long time. It's really a neighborhood institution. And it's in a community that has, as you've heard me say before, it has few landmarks in the Austin community. So it's really wonderful to see this join our esteemed landmark process here and our list of important buildings in Chicago. And that's really, really, really significant. Also, its architect, Max Dunning, is very significant as well. The American Book Company building was one of our Chicago 7 when it was one of our Chicago 7 most endangered a number of years ago, about 12, 15 years ago, when that building was vacant. It's so wonderful to see that building again reoccupied and also as a designated Chicago landmark. Speaking of Max Dunning, the architect of this building, he worked in the firm of Solon S. Beeman, a very notable architect that was also the architect of Pullman and the Pullman National Park. And I just wanted to also mention that we have a really important Solon S. Beeman building that's known as Elam Reformation Church in the Roseland community, just a block away from what was Greater Tabernacle Cathedral. That was landmarked last year. And this building is facing demolition and a demolition threat. It's in court. And I wanted to bring this to your attention at Landmarks because the community, a number of them are here, are really wanting to see the Solon S. Beeman Church considered before you in the future. So forgive me for mentioning that in here, but I just thought that was an important aspect to consider, as the other Beeman buildings are either landmarked or part of a national park of just a few blocks away. This national park should be extended to this block of 113th Street to include these two churches, and also down 111th Street to include all of the Pullman lands on which these buildings were built. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Does the commissioner have any other questions or comments regarding this item? If not, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the final landmark recommendations to City Council for the Kingdom Baptist Church located at 301 North Central Avenue. Is there a motion? So moved. Moved Commissioner Tolliver, second by Commissioner Boatright. Do the roll call. Commissioner Jacobowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Enthusiastic, yes.
Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Rubin.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the report from the public hearing on the permit application for demolition of a building pursuant to 2-120-740 through 2-120-825 of the municipal code. This is the final decision in the Motor Road District located at 2347 South Michigan Avenue in the 3rd Ward. Before we begin this item, I'd like to note that all the commissioners have received full record of the public hearing conducted on the matter, including the transcript to review. Commissioner Boatright will recuse herself from the vote in accordance with the commission's rules and regulations, which state that the commissioner of the Department of Planning and Development or her representative shall recuse themselves from any vote by the commission on any final decision of the permit application. The commission's rules and regulations provide that the commission shall only consider evidence or testimony included in the record of the hearing in determining whether to approve or disapprove the permit application. For that reason, we will not allow additional evidence or testimony from the parties today. However, after we hear from the hearing officer, I will allow brief comments from the property owner should he wish to address the commission. I will now ask the appointed hearing officer, Commissioner Jonathan Fine, to give his recommendation. Commissioner Fine.
Fair. Here.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner
Fair. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman Wong. Following is a brief summary of the chronology. The following is a brief summary of the chronology of events relating to the commission's involvement with permit application number 101052125 for the proposed demolition of the building located at 2347 South Michigan Avenue in the Motorola Landmark District. A demolition permit application was received by commission staff on July 12, 2024. At its regular meeting of August 8, 2024, the commission voted to preliminarily disapprove the application. The commission unanimously found that the two-story masonry building at 2347 South Michigan is contributing to the character of the Motorola District, that the demolition of the contributing building is a per se adverse effect. The demolition of the subject building would have an adverse effect and destroy significant historical and architectural features of the property and district. On August 9th, 2024, commission staff issued a letter to the applicant notifying them of the preliminary disapproval of the application and advising them of their rights to an informal conference to further discuss and reach an accord regarding the application. At the applicant's request, an informal conference was held on August 27th, 2024, but no resolution was reached. A public hearing was held on October 17th, 2024, in accordance with the landmarks ordinance and Motorola Investments LLC, who owns the property at 2347 South Michigan Avenue, was represented at the public hearing by Howard B. Brookins Jr. At the hearing, the applicants and the Department of Planning and Development presented their arguments and evidence, and the Department of Planning and Development called their witnesses. The public was also given an opportunity to provide statements. 11 interested person appearance forms were received at the hearing, with 6 in opposition to the demolition application, 2 in favor of the application, and 3 did not take a position. One of these statements was from Alderman Dow, who spoke in opposition to demolition. I have previously submitted to the commission the record of the public hearing. Based on the evidence and testimony presented at the public hearing, the arguments of the parties, record of the public hearing, and the relevant criteria for reviewing permit applications, I recommend that the commission disapprove the permit application for the demolition of 2347 South Michigan Avenue. I've reached this conclusion based on the following. 1, pursuant to the criteria for determining a contributing building within a landmark district set forth in Article 3, Section G.4 of the Commission's rules and regulations, I find that the property contributes to the character of the Motorola District. 2, pursuant to Article 3, Section G.3E of the Commission's rules and regulations, I find that the demolition of the building would have a per se adverse effect on the significant historical and architectural features of the Motorola District. 3, I find that the demolition of the building would be contrary to the Commission's guidelines for alterations to historic buildings and new construction, specifically with respect to the portions of those guidelines relating to demolition. 4, I find that the demolition of the property would violate standards 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 of the U.S. Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation Guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. I'd like to add for the record that in preparing my findings and conclusion, I reviewed the entire record of the public hearing. As a part of the applicant's facts and findings, I received documents that were not part of the hearing record, and therefore I did not submit those documents to the commission. The Department of Planning and Development's proposed findings and facts and conclusions are consistent with and expand upon my findings and conclusions. Therefore, I recommend that the commission adopt my findings and conclusions, which are the same as those submitted by the Department of Planning and Development, with the exception of a few revisions, which most of which are in the nature of cleanup. This concludes my statement.
Thank you, Commissioner Fair. Does the commission have any questions for Commissioner Fair? And it's not. the owner, of, 2347 South Michigan Avenue. Would you like to make a brief statement? Of course.
So I heard the recommendations of your hearing officer and want to state for the record that part of what he said is just factually not true. Arthur, in submitting evidence from us to the commission, there were objections made specifically as they relate to public records and documents created by the city of Chicago and filed in the circuit court, Cook County, specifically as they relate to this subject property. And it was said and by counsel Arthur Delinsky at the time that the commission could take notice of a public document, especially a document that was created by the city of Chicago and the building department itself. We're tired of being gaslit with respect to this. And let me just go over the brief events. On May 16, 2024, we got a letter from the commission, or a letter from the commissioner of the Department of Planning was drafted regarding the subject property. That letter was mailed out on May 23rd, 2024. And in that letter, it said two things. Your property is dangerous and hazardous, and you got a choice within 15 days to knock the property down or to remedy it and bring it into compliance. On May 27, 2024, this department requested, the landowner requested a permit from the building department to knock the building down. We did meet with council in an attempt to resolve this after Landmarks got involved, and that meeting was in fact on the 27th. But unbeknownst to us and participating in good faith with the commissioner and the chairman, the city of Chicago had already filed a lawsuit in the circuit court of Cook County demanding that the building be, or in their plea, or in their body of their pleading stated that the building was in a dangerous and unsafe condition, posing a danger to the public health, safety, and welfare. The building would require major reconstruction in order to remedy its dangerous and unsafe condition and is beyond reasonable repair. This is what was said by the same attorneys that represent the city in this body across the street. I will point to section 2-12780 that the commission shall approve a permit if the building department determines in writing that the remedy conditions imminently dangerous to the life, health, or property. And what I submit to you is that they did this. And not that they did this in just beyond just a regular letter, but beyond, they did it in a pleading before the circuit court of Cook County, where people can be sanctioned if they're filing frivolous motions. And so to say that this is not a part of the record here is just beyond belief. How can it not be a record? These are the same people arguing on both sides. And they put the landowner in the middle of a fight between two departments. We didn't initially just run out and say we want to knock this building down. We were told by that letter sent May 23rd, you got these two options. Are we going to keep fighting? And so what we suggest is that you follow the law. And the law says under section 2-12780 that you shall grant the petition, regardless of what you find and how it is, and it may or may not be a landmark. We haven't even disputed that part. What we are disputing is the fact that, one, it is in writing. It is signed by officials from the city department. It was created at the behest of the building department commissioner and filed in the circuit court of Cook County. And why that was not given to the commissioners as part of their taking into consideration what you're gonna do this is beyond me. And it appears to be continuing with this conspiracy of gaslighting the owner. So I don't know if the hearing officer is an attorney or not, but this borders on conduct by, if he is an attorney, it borders on conduct that could be considered unethical and sanctionable by the court. You have a duty of candor as an attorney. You have a duty to tell the truth as an attorney. You have a duty with respect to your pleadings to make sure that there are good faith evidence in those pleadings that are filed before a judge in the circuit court or any other court or any other tribunal. This is an admission that the property is dangerous and hazardous. This is probably one of the most studied buildings in my lifetime for being dangerous and hazardous. There was a big foul before the E2 nightclub incident with respect to this building and how dangerous and hazardous it was. And you mean to tell me that the building department didn't go in there after the incident happened on that day? It is beyond me that you can now say this building is not dangerous and hazardous, or we be gaslit by people in the Landmark Commission saying, oh, well, the commissioner didn't really mean what she said in your letter dated May 16th. And I might have gave you that. They said that in front of you, Mr. Chairman, when we had that informal meeting. We might have even given them that. And we were there to meet in good faith. But little did you know, and little did we know, that 14 days earlier, they filed a lawsuit across the street. This is, why should I have to be the mediator between two departments? They need to get their act together. Either it is dangerous and hazardous, or it's not dangerous and hazardous. And if it's not dangerous and hazardous, then why did you file a suit and make us pay money to defend ourselves across the street? They said that in their pleading. And we said, okay, let's tear it down. You are punishing the landowner of this building by making them spend money after money and not knowing what to do. You are hazing them beyond recognition. And I pledged a fraternity more than 40 years ago, and I didn't have to go through this. You got two different big brothers of two different people telling you to do two different things at the same time. We implore you to follow the law and issue the permit to demolish the building, which my client has already paid for and applied for way back on May 27, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, in a second. Just for the record, we may want to put those back there. For the record, though, you said you're paying.
Oh,
And
I'm
who
sorry.
you represent.
I feel like Young Mean, the tall guy, so you don't know who I am? No, for the record, my name is Howard Brookins Jr. I represent the property owners Motor Row Investment LLC. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Arthur Delinsky with the city's law department. I'm just speaking to address Attorney Brookins' question about what was included in the record that Commissioner Fair addressed, because Commissioner Fair did make a statement that he didn't include all the documents they received. First item that I speak to is the court case, the complaint that Attorney Brookins brought to the hearing that is part of the record. The second thing is Attorney Brookins mentioned a letter from the Department of Buildings to his client that also was part of the letter. The item for which a portion was not submitted as the record is the demolition permit application. The demolition permit application that was submitted as part of the record at the hearing was page 1 of that application. Post-hearing, we received from the applicant through his attorney some additional attachments to that application. Since those attachments weren't provided at the hearing, they were not part of the hearing record. That's what Commissioner Ferris referring to.
Thank you.
And I would, with all due respect, Mr. Attorney Delansky, the problem with excluding it, and if we were in a court of law and adversaries, this is still the city's document. It is one city. It was submitted to the city building department. It wasn't complete in the documents submitted by the Landmarks Commission, but it is not as though everybody in the city would not have acceded the knowledge to everything that it actually in fact had in its possession or control. That's how you start a building permit application. You got to submit all of these documents. They only chose to submit the one page, but the city can't say, we didn't have it, we didn't know about it, or object to it. It's their city. It is one person. You can't divide out, oh, this is landmarks and this is buildings. It's one mayor, one city, one body, and it has knowledge of everything that it has within its possession or control. And it clearly had that. It clearly had that, which is what triggered the Landmark Commission's contacting us in the first place.
So without getting into it, the first page of the application, which was part of the hearing, that was included. You had some additional documentation that was submitted post-hearing, and the Department of Planning and Development's attorney did not receive that at the hearing. The hearing officer didn't receive it at the hearing. As a result, it couldn't be, DPD didn't have an opportunity to question those documents or ask about those documents. So in the hearing rules, the commissioner allowed the applicant to submit certain documents at the time of the hearing. Those weren't part of it.
Understanding in all due respect, Mr. Lindsay. The city is represented by the same corporation counsel. Not two independent law firms, one outside, one inside. What they have filed across the street, it is signed by an assistant corporation counsel. The city is represented by the corporation counsel. How are they objecting to documents that they have? And they know they have that because those documents would have come to the Commissioner Hopkins. And Commissioner Hopkins, and it even included, despite the fact that the first deputy tried to wiggle around, they're the ones who initiated the lawsuit. The lawsuit doesn't happen unless building says file a lawsuit. So they tell their attorneys to file a lawsuit, which happens to be the same attorneys and the same body that you represent. How can we say that we didn't have knowledge when you are imputed to have knowledge of everything that your particular office does? Unfortunately, that's just the law.
So my department did have knowledge of the lawsuit since we filed it. The commissioner, the hearing officer, allowed that document to come into the hearing. It's just some attachments that you had to the permit application that weren't provided at the hearing. And under the permit hearing rules, documents needed to be submitted at least 10 days prior to the hearing date. The commissioner was very flexible, allowed some documents to come in at the hearing, including that complaint. So he was aware of the lawsuit. And it's just some documents that you submitted later that weren't provided as part of the record because the commission rules require it to be with the record at the hearing.
I'm not gonna let this.
No, it's not going to.
This is not the place for it. I am gonna ask the commission, you've heard everything here, you've heard the comments from the owner's representative, you've heard Commissioner Ferris, Beast. do you have any questions for the applicant at this time? And if not, I would like to move along. There's a few people that have signed up to speak. So we're going to do that now. The first person has signed up to speak is Howard Ray. And
Yes, my name is Howard Ray.
thank you.
Yes. Yes, my name is Howard Ray. I'm the brother of a victim from the E2 tragedy. I understand you guys are making a decision, but basically, we just want our families to be a part of the decision for later use. I just want to read this real quick. On behalf of the families of victims of the E2 nightclub tragedy, we respectfully request, well, this was a postponement, but I see where it's going now. The postponement of an up and coming hearing or decision regarding the preservation or demolition of the building at 2347 South Michigan Avenue. It is crucial that the families and loved ones affected by this tragedy are included in the decision-making process concerning the future of the significant site. Granting this delay, we not only honor the memory of those that's lost, but also provide a therapeutic gesture that affirms that lives matter. Our proposal seeks to allow sufficient time to the city, the building owners, and the E2 family to collaborate on a mutual beneficial solution. Specifically, the current E2 family proposal include a community benefit agreement, a memorial, and historical landmark designation. We believe these proposals align with the Chicago broader commitment to acknowledging its complex history and honoring its diverse community. For example, in 2015, the city funded reparation and memorial for victims of police torture. Again, for example, supported by $1 million public grant from the Mellon Foundation to develop citywide memorials. The E2 family proposal reflects the spirit of acknowledgement and healing. The tragedy of February 17, 2003 remains a pivotal moment in Chicago history, and the lost lives deserve a respectful and lasting tribute. We urge the city to consider these proposals seriously to ensure that the voices of the E2 families are heard and their input is incorporated before any final decisions are made. We propose that the upcoming hearing are treated as an advisory, and the E2 families have had a chance to engage fully in this process. We are also committed to working collaboratively to develop plans for the site that will benefit all parties, including the building owner and the city of Chicago, the Preservation of Chicago, and the Commission of Landmark. With our support, with your support, the decision could be a historical precedent, establish a memorial in the 3rd Ward that reflects the city value and remembrance and justice. So again, we just want, as a family, we haven't talked to all the family, but some of the family, we want a benefit and a historical memorial at that site. Whatever decision is made, we want that as a family members of the victims. So that is our position. If it has to prolong the decision, that's fine with us because we want our input within this decision. We just don't want a decision made without our input. And I know you guys are making a decision today, but you, the city, the owner, this is our intent, this is what we want. So whatever happens, please consult with us also in this decision making, in this process in the future, because there has to be some type of benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Sister Zakiya.
Zakiya Muhammad.
Zakiya.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Zakiya Muhammad, and I am here in the place of Mary Caldwell. She's one of the mothers that lost a daughter. Myself and a young man that was working with me at the time, we were activists in the community. And we were some of the first responders there, along with Reverend Jesse Jackson. And we were out there standing. We watched all of this go on. We watched our children packed up in a stairwell while the police and firemen stood, and made no effort to help pull them out at all. I'll never forget this as long as I live. So I came really here to give her a report because she's seriously sick and she can't come down. We provided everything that she needed for that family at that time. Reverend Meeks had the burial at his church. We paid for her family to come here to Chicago to the funeral. We just went all out and we're like family. So I feel like behind hearing what Attorney Brookins has just said about this property, I'm in awe. Even if they tear it down, and some have talked about it, even if they tore it down, well, I don't want to get too personal with it because I don't want to have to go there. But what I'd like to say, this shouldn't be the final decision based on what Attorney Brookins has just put out here. This should not be a final decision because it looks like somebody didn't do all of their homework. And I think all family members, every one of those family members that have lost a loved one should be a part of this decision. I think it's just fair. We're talking about fairness. We're talking about children that lost their lives. No fault of their own. They were just trying to get out of there and got caught and got stuck and couldn't move. Stampede, stuck up in there. I wish you could have seen it. And our people, firemen, making no effort to save them. No effort, just standing there looking like. I've never seen nothing so cold-blooded in all of my life. That's what I saw with these eyes out at the E2 site. And I know those families would want to make a decision about what happens in that area. I know they would. This should not be a final decision. This should not be something that we just stamp and get it on out of the way. Too many horrible memories. So that's really all I have to say on that.
Thank you.
Because I get emotional.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, for the record, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. This is really a sad moment and really a difficult decision for all of you, and our hearts go out to the victims and their families. And I just want you to know, heartfelt, this is obviously a building that's an important part of a motor road district. And what is finally determined by all of you and the families and the community, I think is beyond what I can offer and we can offer at Preservation Chicago today. But I want to offer the idea that that as some of the people have mentioned, families and victims of families, that a monument is placed here in some regard. We feel that the building is important, and my own personal feeling is that if the building goes away, that story also goes away. Just like the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley House that you landmarked 2 years ago with all of us united on that front, the landmark, it's a touchstone to a tragedy that should have never happened. And especially after hearing the attorney's description of a building that was not in the best shape before the disaster. But I don't think we should ignore the fact that that building is significant to telling a story, and it is a touchstone. I also want to offer that as part of the landmark designation of the Motor Road District, that perhaps it could be amended to include this terrible, terrible disaster, so that that story is never forgotten, and it's included with this district and with that building, whatever that building should become in the future, whatever development adjoins it, however that decision is made and however things go forward. I think it's just important to remember the victims and this huge tragedy. And I want to encourage working with all of us, and a monument be made immediately, the landmark designation, including this disaster tied to this site, and also that that we be very careful and sympathetic to all the families and victims of this disaster that happened more than 20 years ago that a lot of people have forgotten. And I think the memory of this disaster needs to be recognized in every way, shape, and form. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Sims?
Hey, Commissioner, how's it going? It's strange to hear about this event. And also just how it ended up in Rosen. So I'm there in Rosen. I'm at 11001 South Michigan. And how I got there was a terrible event with my kid's mom. I haven't seen my kids for like a year and a half now. But the E2 thing is personal because my twin sister was in there. It happened. And the next day when she told me about like everything, because she a dancer, it all took place on the dance floor. The chemical agent, the whole threat of anthrax. Y'all remember that time when like the mill was, oh, so that's what caused this. But I walked past that building now and it's crazy because I would have been there that day. I was on house arrest. I'm a warm troublemaker. Let's say that. But I would have been in there. My twin was there. I would have been there. No, not telling what would have happened. But when you talk about how people was packed in there, my twin cried for like 3 days over that. She said, because my uncle taught us situational awareness. When you in the space, something go down, get low, find you a place to go in. Don't move. And that's what she did. She went into the restroom. So that's what saved her life more than likely instead of trying to exit. So I walk past that every day, most days. Well, for the last few months. So I go and work out at the Planet Fitness up there. So I have to travel off Michigan and go down because I'm from Rogers Park. I'm not familiar with that. We went out there to party. That's what the Aquarium Club is for. But just walking down the street, for them to want to tear it down, what are they going to replace it with? Have you all walked through that area? Have you all seen how many buildings, vacancies, lots? What are you going to replace it with? You're going to tear it down. And just the memorial that shouldn't be the thing. It should be replaced with something that's going to revitalize the community and the kids though. Right next door is Gwendolyn Brooks, the high school. So that's a college prep. You can easily refurbish the building into something that's going to rejuvenate us. And then y'all took enough. Enough is enough. Yes, the Aquarium thing happened. Yes, it happened. However, it happened. Right now we have living people in a community that's dead, period. And I say this because I know what corridors look like. I say this because I know what built out neighborhoods look like. Every second to third structure in that neighborhood is abandoned. Rustic gates and bars, detriment is all, and that's environmental torture to those children that have to continuously walk through that neighborhood. The park is half kept. It's like, come on. The divestment is so apparent from 101 to 127 that you probably have mental illness. I'm suffering it from the consistency of sirens. As I walk out from just seeing nothing but vacancy, nothing but emptiness, nothing but what was left after what riot, the George Floyd, enough is enough. Enough with the divestment because this is it's a blighted area. Because this memory of the Aquarium Club is a blight on Chicago does not mean that you all continuously tear down this community without revitalizing it. Enough is enough. Enough is enough, truly. Y'all gonna figure it out. Because enough is enough. It does not make sense that this city cannot figure it out. We can be ran in a utopian fashion, but the politics and the way y'all wanna treat Black Americans in this city, enough is enough. Enough is enough. The whole Michigan Avenue is bombed out and depleted. There's nothing, the whole corridor from 100 to 127. Has anybody traveled this? So y'all know what I'm talking about. Wow. But this is in existence in this city. How? How? And y'all can't say because it's a horrible memory. Yes, it is. The living gotta deal with it, the parents gotta deal with it, but the community has to deal with yet another structure just gone. What y'all gonna put there? Y'all haven't put anything in the other structures that's gone. You walk a couple yards from there, it's another empty space. A couple yards from there, there's another empty space, and there's a park across the street and a high school right here. Tell me what these kids seeing. When you walk out your house, how many of you all have walked out of the house and seen 13 empty structures? Abandoned and rusted bars. Tell me how would you grow up? What would you think about? How would you exist?
Thank you.
For the record, I think it's important to make sure the commissioners understand the neighborhood this gentleman was talking about is not the neighborhood we are talking about.
So the property that we're talking about on this is in Brownsville.
Right.
And
Roseland is
Mr. Sims is
far
talking
south.
about Roseland.
The same philosophy though.
Oh, it's the same, sorry.
Yeah.
Ron's the same.
Same
All the
philosophy.
same.
But I appreciate your candor. If there, nobody else has signed up to speak,
1 second.
oh. Ms. Carlson.
Yes, thank you, thank you. My name is Bonnie Sanchez Carlson, and I'm with the Near South Planning Board. And I did submit and made my comments at the public hearing in opposing the demolition of this. But I do want to join the families in, you know, it was emotional too during that hearing. And I recognize what you're saying there as well, that we have been working diligently trying to revitalize that strip, the South Michigan Avenue. And it is vacant and whatnot, and we've tried hard to save that district there. And so we also want to be very supportive of some type of memorial there as well for those that have passed in that horrible tragic, and I remember it as well. And it's just too sad. It just brings so much sadness to me. But I just want to reiterate that we encourage this talk, which we haven't seen yet with the developer at this moment, but the hope is that the owner will include all of us in this process moving forward. And again, having worked with this organization for over 3 decades, and specifically in this Motor Row Historic District, I don't want to see the building, we don't want to see the building demolished, but we do want to be supportive of, you know, something that could be there for the families that are here. So I urge your.
Thank you. Nobody else signed up to speak in this item. I'd like to request a motion from the commission to adopt the hearing officer's proposed findings and conclusions in their entirety as findings and conclusions of the commission. And note that by adopting these findings and conclusions, the commission will be disapproving the permit application for demolition of the building located at 2347 South Michigan Avenue. Is there a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any legal issue to be resolved? That's my concern, what they voted today. Is there, based on what Attorney Brookins has said, and the interchange that is going on with the city's attorney, could there not be some legal ramifications for this commission, these commissioners, if we vote on something where it seems that it's not settled in the law?
Good question.
Where things stand.
Thank you.
That's my concern.
So Arthur Delancey with the city's law department. Once the commission takes this vote, the final decision is subject to review by the circuit court. If the applicant decides to pursue.
So I guess to answer the question.
May I answer?
There's never, you aren't absolved from anything. Regardless of.
May I respond?
You can make a comment, sir.
The owners have filed a counterclaim against the city. We've also asked for a petition for a writ of mandamus to order the city issue the demolition permit based on what the building commissioner has said. And so, yes, we anticipate ongoing litigation and it possibly be protracted. Because quite frankly, my client does, what are we supposed to do? You say tear down, we go to tear it down. You say you can't tear it down, but you want to continue to fine us $2,000 a day. Then what is it? What are we supposed to do? We met with your commission in good faith in an informal hearing, trying to resolve the issues.
Okay.
So yes.
I think,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, I think we've answered the question, which is there any ramifications to it? There's always ramifications to everything we do. Yeah, we live in a litigious
Not all,
society.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
some are more blatant and
Yes,
apparent than
yeah,
others.
that's correct.
So you can't just dismiss
Yeah,
it by
that's
saying, there's always, you have to answer this
Yeah.
question.
Mr. Chairman, before we take a vote, I was hoping for an affirmation from the staff, specifically in response to one of the comments from Mr. Ray. It is my understanding, but I'm hoping the historic preservation staff can confirm this, that if, as a commission, we accept Commissioner Farr's recommendation to deny the permit application, that does not preclude the families from being a part of whatever process planning for a memorial. That our decision today on the recommendation is independent and will have no impact on the family's role. As a citizen of Chicago, I believe it is important, significant, and deeply worthwhile for the families to be able to participate. But as a commissioner, I want to make sure that my understanding is that there are no restrictions if we deny this permit application for the families to be involved in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns.
Is that correct?
I believe that would be correct, yes. I believe that it's correct, that, you know, you, as a body, you can certainly, you know, proceed.
Yes, it sounds good, but if all of that is going on with the building that the attorney said, the building is still gonna be unsafe, isn't it? Is it still gonna be an unsafe building, whatever you decide to do with it? Based on what your findings, am I understanding it correctly, Attorney Brookins?
That is that, yeah, so unfortunately, we are not reviewing the condition of the building.
Okay, I got you. All right,
What
I'll
we are
stay on that
reviewing,
page.
what we are reviewing is whether
I
this is.
Yes, well, thank you for saying that now, because
But
I don't
Mr.
think
Chairman,
anything should be final unless the entire family members are part of that
Okay.
process.
Commissioner,
Just kind of chime in and answer on that, you know, a part of the public hearing, you know, notes as well, but, you know, what we heard in the hearing was a willingness from both the owner, families that were in participation that day, as well as the aldermen that's there around, coming together to identify that solution. So, you know, somewhat echoing Commissioner Wong's point that today's decision does not preclude that. That we heard, you know, for however the building, you know, goes on from here, there was that willingness that was there. Parties that were, you know, involved in, you know, first and foremost to make that decision. So our hope is that, you know, should speak collectively. I think a hope is that, you know, the victims of the tragedy and just, you know, everything that came out of that is never forgotten. And in fact, rather than it being kind of a gray spot or a negative reminder that it can change its history and its legacy there. So I think that would be, you know, at least my wish for that.
I can't hear some of what you're saying.
In short, I think there's a willingness from what we heard in the public hearing from both the families,
Mhm.
the owner and the alderman in supporting those conversations for everyone coming together. And I think, you know, that's the hope also personally is that the building itself can, through a memorial or other ways, change what's a really traumatic and negative history that's tied to that particular property. And, change that legacy moving forward into something that's positive, beneficial to them.
I could answer your question about the building being unsafe. Not that building in particular, but to say that if the city of Chicago deems the building is structurally a threat, they will demand that it be secured in a way that it will not be a structural threat, even though the litigation is going on. So, and it's still unsafe, but not unsafe to the point that it's a threat to the community.
Deanna, did you?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just to reiterate, the commission's authority is purely to determine whether the property is contributing to the motor road district, and your decision is based on that. At this point, that is really the only consideration. We understand that there are violations that are to be discussed in court, and they will proceed separate from this process.
So, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, as part of the package that was submitted to me, and it is part of your record, includes the entire code ordinance as it relates to the city of Chicago. So I have attorneys that keep telling you it's not a part, unless I'm wrong, but clearly in what I read in your package is section 2-12780. And that says that, no, I don't care what you find as far as this thing being historical and a landmark and all of the stuff that everybody talked about, but that if this property is deemed to be hazardous by the building commissioner, then you shall approve the permit. And I can't let the misrepresentation continue to go as though we don't have a role in this.
Can you respond?
Deanna wants to respond.
Yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, the section that was cited is part of the landmarks ordinance. And it is true that there is a statement that says if there is a finding by Department of Buildings or Department of Public Health or the fire department that the demolition of a building is necessary to remedy conditions imminently dangerous to life, health, or property, then the commission has no authority to review it under our standard process. The current application would just be approved. In this case, the Department of Buildings has confirmed that such finding has not been made.
I object to that.
Okay.
Because they said it in a, no, when attorneys say something, it means something different. The pleadings say what they say, and it's in the record.
Attorney Brookins, I
Okay.
heard you, if
okay.
you are on record, appreciate it, and we've heard, everybody's heard it. This is on camera too, so, I'm gonna proceed with this. You've heard everything, if there are no further comments or questions, I'd like to request a motion that the commission adopt the hearing officers' proposed findings and conclusions in their entirety as findings and conclusions of the commission.
So
Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Tolliver, did you say? Oh, I thought you raised your hand. I'm sorry, was there a second? Commissioner Jeklitz, second that. Commissioner Fair,
Yes.
Commissioner Rubin,
Yes.
Commissioner Tolliver. No. I am a yes. The motion carries, and please note that there's a one objection to this. Next item on the agenda is the permit review committee reports, and I'll call on Commissioner Jeklitz for that.
Permit review committee reviewed and conditionally approved the project at its October 3rd meeting. The report summarizing the scope of the proposed project and the decision was included in your packets.
Thank you. Emily?
Month of October, staff approved 160 permit applications, a total of 179 reviews were performed by staff, and the average number of days to issue approval was 5.7.
Thank you. All right, before we adjourn, I'd like to introduce a new staff member at the Historic Preservation Department of Planning and Development, John Ritsu. John is a registered architect with expertise in zoning, code and regulatory compliance, plan review, construction observation, and design services. Under LCM Architects, he managed the National Accessibility Guidance and Training Program for HUD. Aside from his own firm, Crandall Ritsu Architects, John has worked for Popular Thames in Chicago, as well as firms in London and Pittsburgh. John was an instructor in the architecture department at Carnegie Mellon University, and he also taught at UIC in the Harrington Institute of Interior Design. Welcome, John.
I'm very happy to be participating part of this division. From what I can see, they do great work. And I'm just also saying very happy to finally get the chance to use my architectural history knowledge for the benefit of the citizens of Chicago.
Thank you, sir. If anyone further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? So moved. And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, adjourn. We have Commissioner Echo.
The committee will begin in 2:20.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you for doing.
So enjoy your weekend.
All right.